My name is Jake Ditto.
I'm Sam Converse. Welcome to the first episode of Film Note. It's a new podcast we're going to be starting about movie reviews, quick movie reviews, maybe some news here and there. We're gonna get it going for you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of cool stuff, especially towards Oscar season. I have a lot of great stuff planned for us. But today, for our first episode, we're gonna be doing this thing called quick movie reviews, fast movie reviews. It's pretty much just going to be a less in-depth movie discussion about movies that I've seen over the past week or so.
And just to be clear, I haven't seen a majority of these movies. All the things I'm involved in at Northwest, you'd expect me to see a little more movies, but Jake is mostly going to be telling me about movies, and I'm going to just reciprocate. Yeah.
And the big thing I want to do with this is to show people a wider range of movies, because we all hear about movies like Black Panther and A Star is Born, which has just come out, but we don't hear about the smaller movies that I'm going to be talking about. And these, a lot of times, these are the best movies that come out all year.
Definitely.
So we're going to start it off, and I've come up with 5 movies that I watched over Thanksgiving break and over the weekend that I feel like I should talk about, and I will be ranking them from worst to best. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
The first movie is A Star is Born. And
never seen it.
Yeah, it stars Bradley Cooper. It is his directorial debut, and it also stars Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And
a little bit of crossover here from the music industry.
Yeah, and this movie right now is, by the odds I'm looking at, is projected to win Best Picture.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I've been looking at that. And
who else could be up for Best Picture?
Roma, which I'm very excited for, directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
Never seen it.
Well, it hasn't come out yet. It's going to be on Netflix December 14th. Really excited for that.
I'll check it out then.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And also Green Book, directed by Chris Farley.
I really want to see that. Yeah. I watched the trailer when I was in the theater the other day, and it looked really good.
Yeah. Also, another one is The Favorite, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, which he made The Lobster and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I don't know if you've heard of those two movies.
No, I've heard The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, those were some bigger, smaller, independent movies, and they were really big at film festivals. But anyways,
you think this is going to take the cake, though?
More than likely it will. I think it's going to be between this and Roma. I would like to see Roma win, even though I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Just because of the respect I have for director Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyways, To A Star is Born, I'd already seen this once back whenever it first got released, early October. But again, I didn't love it, and I wanted to go watch it again because it is looking like it's going to win Best Picture. And so I didn't know if I missed anything. I honestly liked it less the second time.
Really?
Yeah. So the first complaints I had is that I felt like the first half was perfect, aside from foreshadowing that was way too spoon-fed. And I want to get into that. Should we do spoilers?
I think we should stick maybe spoiler-free, maybe? I don't know. Maybe. What do you think?
I don't know. We'll get into it. Depends on how upset I get about talking about this movie.
Maybe go over the basics of the plot.
Yeah. Okay, so A Star is Born. This is the 4th time this has been made.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. It originally came out in 1938, and then I believe 1954 maybe, and then in the 1970s with Barbra Streisand.
So it's a popular story is what I'm
It's
hearing.
A very popular story, and then Bradley Cooper decided to direct it, which, very interesting. And
I'm
going to start off by saying Bradley Cooper did a great job directing this movie. He did it phenomenally. This has some of the best music I've heard in a movie in the past, I don't know how many years. It's up there with La La Land for my favorite music in a movie.
Yeah, La La Land was great.
Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper give great performances. Lady Gaga shocked me. I think there's no way she's not going to win Best Actress. She was amazing.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah, she was very good in this movie. Sam Elliott, also, very good supporting actor. Wasn't in the movie too long, but he did a great job. Here are the issues I have. One I already talked about, there was some major foreshadowing that was just so shoved in your face in the first 5 minutes, and that really angered me because it took away from the ending, because they wanted to make you cry.
Okay.
And they were going for that really just tearjerker moment, and I didn't feel that because the foreshadowing was so handheld. It was so in your face. And it kind of reminded me of last year with Get Out. And there was some foreshadowing in Get Out, but it was done really cleverly by Jordan Peele. Because there was a poster whenever Chris, played by Daniel Kaluuya, and he was talking to Georgina, and in the background, you may not notice this, there's a canvas, and it said Chris is dead. And it was pretty much showing what the family wanted to do to him. And it was really subtle. It was out of focus. But in this, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's bigger than the actual character that's in the frame.
Really?
And it's in bold colors, and it's really dark. That's all I'm going to say about it. But it was really frustrating.
Wow, yeah, I couldn't, I feel like it would almost just, like, detract from, like, the story when you put something out there that's so, like, incredibly, like, it's just there. Like, I'm imagining it's like this cup sitting on the table. It's like an orange cup on a white table.
Yeah.
You just see it plain as day.
It was that obvious. I caught it my first time, and
I'm sure many other people did also.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
It was...
Wow, that...
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
The other things I didn't like about it, whenever I first watched it, I thought that the second half of the movie was not earned. For example, Lady Gaga. The story is about how there's a Bradley Cooper. He's a really famous musician. And then he meets Lady Gaga, and she's a nobody.
Does Lady Gaga play herself?
She does not play herself.
Okay.
But she's a nobody. And she ends up meeting Bradley Cooper, and she sings for him. And then they build a great relationship over one night. And then the next night, he takes her onto a show, and he has her perform, and then she just blows up. And then the second half begins.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem I have is that once the love stage is over, and then it goes into the second half of the story, Lady Gaga's stuff feels so quick, and it does not feel earned. For example, the first time we really get to see her get famous, she is performing in SNL. So we see her performing in SNL, and it's like, okay, that's a little odd seeing SNL in a movie, but it's okay. And then right after that, she's in a photo shoot, and we find out she gets nominated for 3 Grammys. And it's like, wait, what? Next scene, she's winning a Grammy. Okay. And just so much stuff happens back to back, and none of it feels earned. And it was very frustrating.
Sounds like some bad pacing to me.
Very bad pacing. And then I watched it again the second time, and after the first time, there was something else I missed that I didn't like about it, and I could not figure out what it was. I watched it again, and I realized what it was. The character of Lady Gaga is set up to be a character that you should get behind. She is the reason why you should be caring about this movie. Her name is in the title, A Star is Born. She's the one who is being born. Yeah. She should be the focus. But the problem is that she is not that good of a character.
Right.
And I realized this. In the first half, she is just really... She doesn't do much. There's not much for you to get behind besides the fact that she's talented.
Uh-huh.
And that's like, you're clinging on to that, and you're waiting for...
Not enough depth.
Exactly.
To the character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's set up kind of smartly because you're waiting to latch onto her in the second half. The problem is that she's gotten to the point where she's so famous that she becomes very unlikable. And so that you don't like her in the second half. Mm-hmm. And so by the time the movie ends, you're like, well, okay, that happened. I instead found myself caring about Bradley Cooper's character a lot more. Mm-hmm. He's an alcoholic in the movie. He is a really good character, and I was really cheering for him. And in the end, I really liked his character. I did not like Lady Gaga's character, and I felt like that was the biggest issue.
Wow. Yeah.
Also, another thing that really made me mad was the editing of this movie. The editing got very choppy at points. I felt like it was not done all that well. It's hard to explain. You kind of have to have visuals with it to explain what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I felt like there was only one great scene that was edited very well, and that was the final scene. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I felt like there's just one shot that the editor cut to that I felt like was perfect to end the movie on. So that will do it.
So he redeemed himself, maybe?
Not really.
Okay,
not really. I mean, the sad thing is that this movie is probably going to get nominated for Best Editing, which it doesn't deserve.
Right.
But it's going to get nominated anyways.
Mm. Awesome, yeah. So I can understand if what you're saying is correct.
Yeah.
Why this would be last on your list for today.
Yeah. And my number 4 spot is Boy Erased. Now, this movie is directed by Joel Edgerton. Okay. And Joel Edgerton made the movie The Gift, starring Jason Bateman. Came out 2015.
Maybe.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
Joel Edgerton's also in it. You remember it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, and I really enjoyed that movie as a thriller. Mm-hmm. And I was excited to see this movie. And wait till I tell you the plot of this movie, because I heard this plot and I wanted to go see this movie right away. Mm-hmm. This movie is about a boy who is gay, and he's closeted about being gay. And he has a pastor for a father, and they live in a far right state. I can't remember which state it was. I think it might have been Texas. It might have been.
Really?
And the father, after finding out that his son is gay, puts him in a conversion camp. Yeah, and
Wow.
it's based off a true story.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was
That makes me want to see it.
I was very, very excited for this movie. And ultimately, I compare this movie to Lady Bird last year.
Okay.
Where I watch it, and there's nothing I really found wrong about the movie. It's just that there's nothing I loved about it. It felt like a very safe movie.
Definitely.
Where you had this movie that was... It should have been a movie to take chances, considering the story.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I was hearing it, it's like you hear all these different trials and things that he goes through. But when you're saying it's like such a safe movie, it was kind of counter on...
It felt like...
I can understand why you put it at number 4, considering it's got this, like, story for potential, but... As you say, they didn't take any risks.
Like and I understand why he didn't take any risks, because Joel Edgerton, you get into a really touchy subject because it almost gets to the point where it feels like he's almost bashing Christianity, and so he had to be very careful about that, because whenever you're talking about
nowadays.
Yes, exactly. And so I understand why he was playing it safe, but then again, at the same time, I felt like there are times he should have taken chances, and I felt like he should have done that, but it ultimately felt safe. And there's really the only positives I can give this movie are that I felt like Lucas Hedges' performance was really good. I felt like Russell Crowe's performance was really good. Nicole Kidman and Joel Edgerton all gave great performances.
Great casting.
Great casting. The only one of them I could actually see getting nominated, though, is Nicole Kidman for Best Supporting Actress, and that is a maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, ultimately, there's nothing great. I mean, even though I said it was safe, I kind of got to applaud Joel Edgerton because, again, it's a very touchy subject. Whenever you have gay rights and Christianity.
Yeah. That's for sure.
And so I gotta say, he did a good job making it to where you could watch it and it didn't feel like he was bashing Christianity.
Right.
But at the same time, watching this movie, I left unimpressed.
Right.
And
that sucks, especially when you're going, like you said, you were so excited just to see it on day one, and then you go in and you're almost let down by the movie, and that sucks. So I can understand your placement for number 4 on your list. At
number 3, I have a movie directed by the Coen brothers. And this is a Netflix original movie called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I've seen this one on Netflix. I've not watched it. I've seen the trailer, though.
This is
interesting.
Fun fact. This is the only Netflix original movie I've ever gotten excited for.
Really?
Yeah. And that's because, again, the Coen brothers. I have so much respect for them. And it's been a while since they made a movie. It was in, I believe, March of 2016 was the last time they made a movie. And they usually take these kind of long jumps, except from about 2006 to about 2009, I want to say, where they made 4 movies back to back.
Wow.
Like in a row.
Yeah.
And then lately they've been taking several years apart. But anyways, I was really interested in this movie for a couple reasons. One, it's another Western. And like
Westerns
they did,
are great.
yeah, like they did True Grit.
Yeah,
like they did the remake with what's his name? Forgot his name. Big time actor, Oscar nominated actor, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
That's him. But anyways,
definitely didn't know.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So this movie is an anthology movie.
Okay.
So it has 5 different stories, or is it 6? It's 5 or 6 different stories. I can't remember. And the problem with the anthology movies like this, because they don't relate to each other in any way. It's 6 completely different stories, so it's like 6 short films.
They're all Western, though?
They're all Westerns.
Is there any, like, proof that they're in the same timeline, even?
Not necessarily.
Could they relate to each other? Like, is that what...
Maybe,
like, that's what I'm saying.
As far as themes would go.
Yeah.
But as far as actual story, they do not.
Not at
anyway.
all. Yeah, okay.
So... the problem with anthology films that you come across is when they're made like this, is that you're going to end up ranking the short films within them.
Right. Yeah. And
so that means whenever you have a really bad one, it's going to stand out, and when you have a really good one, it's going to stand out. So for example, the first one has I forgot his name. He's the actor in Holes.
Shia LaBeouf.
No, not Shia LaBeouf,
Shia
but
LaBeouf.
he's the actor that is one of the counselors, and he's like a supporting counselor. He's not Sigourney Weaver or John Voight. He's the other one that actually has stuff to say.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyways, I forgot his name, but he played Buster Scruggs, and I felt like that was a very funny intro. I felt like that was well filmed, and it felt very Coen Brothers-esque. That's another thing with this I want to talk about, is that this brought back the Coen Brothers feel, where it's like it's the Coen Brothers sense of humor. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, have you seen movies like Burn After Reading, or
I don't think so. I'm not familiar.
Barton Fink?
No, I'm not familiar.
Raising Arizona?
No.
Okay, anyways, they have this signature sense of humor where it's so odd, and there's a signature Coen Brothers idiot, and he is so funny. Big Lebowski. Have you seen The Big Lebowski?
No.
Fargo?
No.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
That's why I'm here. I'm here to
I
learn.
understand. But these are some.
Learning.
Yeah, but the Coen Brothers have these signature characters, and they have this odd sense of humor that no other director pulls off in quite the way that they do it. And so this film has that, and I loved it for that reason. So the first two I really enjoyed. The first one has that actor I was talking about. The second one has James Franco.
Okay.
And he is a cowboy who is trying to rob banks, and that's a very funny one. I really enjoyed that. The third one, though, caught me off guard, and it really slowed the pacing down. It was very, I don't know, it was slow, and I didn't understand what they were trying to say with it. It wasn't funny,
Right.
but it still had that sense of humor, or not that sense of humor, but it had a Coen Brothers feel to it. Usually they're more serious films like True Grit or No Country for Old Men don't really have a certain feel to them. They just feel like they're movies. Whereas other movies that they've done, like The Big Lebowski or Fargo, it feels like you're watching a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
So this third one,
They've created an identity for themselves, essentially.
Exactly.
So it
So-
definitely makes a distinct line
Yeah.
between the feel of movies.
yeah, but the weird thing is that this third one had neither one of those. It had its own feel that I've never felt in a Coen Brothers movie.
Interesting.
Actually, I would take that back. It felt almost like Barton Fink, which I know you've never seen that, but it felt almost like Barton Fink. And what this one's about, it's about a performer who has no arms or legs. So he acts, he reads poems like Ozymandias and other poems like that, and he's carried around by Liam Neeson. And I kind of understand the message that they were going for in this movie, and I appreciated it for that, but it was just not entertaining to watch. There was nothing really great about it, and I just kind of felt like it really slowed down where the movie was going. But then right after that was my favorite of all six of them. And this there was almost no dialogue, but it was about a old man it's during the gold rush, and so he has his bowl, and he's going through the dirt trying to wash out the gold. I don't know how I found this so appealing, but it was just so much fun to watch. It was like 20-30 minutes long, and I don't know what it was. I just really enjoyed watching this one. It was so much fun to watch.
Was it the favorite out of all of them?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Without a doubt. Easily my favorite.
Do you think there was something special about no dialogue that like you were talking about how like when you have anthologies it separates them, so you're automatically categorizing this one in like another like tier, you know what I'm saying, because there's no dialogue?
No, not really. I'm comparing all of them as like equal playing field.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, I think the no dialogue might have benefited this one. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they relied on filmmaking instead of screenplay.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I felt like that added another level to it, and I really enjoyed it for that reason. And then we get to the last two, and I felt like the fifth one, this was the longest one. It's a 2-hour, 12-minute long movie, I believe. This one was 40 minutes long.
Really?
Very long.
Wow. Yeah.
It had Zoe Kazan in it, who was in The Big Sick last year. Don't know if you watched that movie.
Nope.
Anyways, yeah, this one was just long. It felt like it was too long. Not a lot of redeeming factors on this one. I just kind of sat back and started daydreaming in this one.
Yeah.
Started thinking about other stuff. There was just nothing that really drew me into this one. And same with the sixth one. I mean, the sixth one kind of felt like the opening of The Hateful Eight by Quentin Tarantino. You seen that movie?
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one was like that because it's these 6 people in a stagecoach, and they're going to a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just them talking. But I found it very entertaining. I really enjoyed the dialogue of that. Ultimately, I still wouldn't put that above the first 2, though. So I would put this one at, like, 4th ranked.
Right.
But I appreciated what they did.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think when it comes to critical reception and, like, the factors for being nominated for various awards, do you think that the anthology aspect, like, affects that? How people perceive, like, oh, well, overall, this one brought it down, this one brought it up, and do you think that plays into, like, the overall?
Well, I'm telling you right now, this film
reception?
stands no chance of getting nominated for Best Picture, no chance of getting nominated for Best Director.
Just because of the way acting. It is.
I feel like that could possibly be it. I just feel like in general, though, it felt like 6 short films, not a film.
Right.
That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like there was something that could tie them together. There wasn't. That's honestly, it just felt like a collection of short films, which is another issue I have with it. You know, I wanted this to feel like a Coen Brothers movie, and it just felt like a bunch of Coen Brothers short films, which I was disappointed by.
Yeah.
And so I doubt this stands any chance at award season. It could get nominated for maybe Best Costume Design or maybe Best Production Design.
It seems like it has its own kind of little niche almost that it fits into the film community with.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Another issue I had with this is that in the final short film, I'm calling them short films because that's how it felt like.
Yeah,
it didn't
definitely.
feel like different chapters like it's set up to be. So that's why I've been calling them short films this whole time. But in the final one, whenever they exit the stagecoach and go into the hotel, there's a shot of a man who's the last one to go into the hotel. And he's having a conversation with the second to last person that goes into the hotel. And when it cuts back to the man who's outside, you can see these 2 buildings in the background, but they're clearly fake. Like, these are 2-dimensional, like, what is it called?
Plywood?
Plywood. Plywood buildings. And I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Like Blazing Saddles almost, or?
Yeah, it felt
Weird.
like maybe a callback. I don't know if it was, like, intentionally bad or not, but I noticed it, and I was, like, waiting for them to cut back because I didn't know if I saw it right, and I did. It was very weird. Again, that's just something that kind of threw me off.
And detracted almost, like it left you on like a bad note maybe?
I think it did. I think if I watch this again, I might think differently about that. But as of right now, I don't like that part.
Yeah.
So that's my number 3.
Awesome. On to number 2.
Number 2 is a movie that came out in April. But it just got on Amazon Prime. And I've been very excited to see this movie ever since April.
I'll have to check this one out.
Well, you may not want to.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Even though I love this movie is You Were Never Really Here. And it was directed by Lynn Ramsey. And it stars Joaquin Phoenix. And Lynn Ramsey is a director who I have a lot of respect for. She made the 2011 movie We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Never seen it.
Okay. And I noticed something after watching You Were Never Really Here. Lynn Ramsey makes these movies that whenever you say the plot, you're very intrigued by them. And then you watch them and they are nothing like what you expect.
Okay.
For example, We Need to Talk About Kevin. I'm going to get into some spoilers about this plot because that's...
Spoilers.
Spoiler warning about We Need to Talk About
Spoilers.
Kevin. This movie did come out in 2011, so if you haven't seen it yet, it wasn't a big movie.
Yeah, where have you been?
It's not a big movie, but still, watch it. It's great. This movie is about a kid who grows up and he's a sociopath. And he's pretty much terrorizing his mother throughout the entire thing. And it ends on him shooting up the school with a bow and arrow.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I heard that, I was very intrigued by it.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
That movie ended up being very art house. It was very odd.
Avant-garde.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff to it and very artsy, and I loved it for that reason because I like movies every here and there that I watch, and it's like a puzzle trying to figure out what the director's really trying to say.
Interesting.
And I got that with You Were Never Really Here because You Were Never Really Here, it's about a man who is a hitman, I'd almost say, and he has to carry out certain deeds, and on one of these deeds goes wrong.
Oh.
And so he has to I don't want to get too much into it, mainly because I don't know what really went on.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But really the filmmaking that went into this, I loved so much. For example, one of my favorite things was the cinematography. This is one of the greatest looking films I've ever seen. It's up there with The Revenant, and The Revenant was previously what I think is the greatest. I still think The Revenant looks a little bit better than this. But there is this scene where Joaquin Phoenix is talking to his therapist. He grabs a jelly bean and he squeezes the jelly bean. I swear to God, I have never seen a shot that looked that good in my life.
Wow, really?
It looked incredible.
Google it.
Yeah.
Google it. Google the jelly bean scene.
Watch it on YouTube. It looked... Well, then again, I also have a 4K TV and I watched this on 4K.
Yeah.
And so...
All the better.
Oh my God. But I've also seen The Revenant on 4K.
Mm-hmm.
And this still looked better than that. Like, this looked incredible.
That one shot.
I'm telling you, this is the greatest shot I've ever seen. I was literally watching him crush that jelly bean, and I literally I said, oh my God, that is beautiful.
Wow, yeah.
But then there's this other scene where Joaquin Phoenix is jumping into this lake, and the shot is underwater, and it's green water. There's this light coming down on him, and it is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the cinematography in this movie is just incredible. It should definitely get nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars, but it won't.
Ask, yeah. Really?
It's not going to, just because of how...
avant-garde niche it is.
Well, not necessarily that. It's just that this movie came out in April. And a lot of what has to go into the Oscars is all about timing out when you're going to release your movie, because your movie has to keep a lot of buzz.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, that was Q2. That was a while ago.
That was a very long time ago. And so it needs to stay relevant from April all the way till January.
Exactly. And I haven't heard of it.
Exactly. This is a very small movie not a lot of people heard about. So that's a big thing it had to do. Another thing I really liked about this movie, I loved Joaquin Phoenix's performance. And this, I just want to talk about how odd this movie is. This character is so weird. Like, he lives at home with his mom. He's like 40 years old. He lives at home with his mom who's like 80, 90 years old. She's about to die.
Yeah.
He literally asphyxiates himself. He'll put a plastic bag on his head, choke himself out, and right before he passes out, wakes up. Or, like, takes the bag off.
Jeez.
Then there's another time where his mom's in the bathroom, and he's talking to her through the door. And while he's waiting on her, he takes a knife, and he drops it on his foot just for him to pull his foot out right before the knife hits it. And he just does that back and forth over and over again while he's talking to his mom.
I mean, they talk all the time in the film industry. They talk about, you know, the dedication actors and actresses took to like fit in the roles, like working out or doing insane things. Like Jared Leto in like Suicide Squad, like went through insane stuff to do his role, and that like is some mental, like you have to prepare yourself mentally to get into like this state where you can do things. Like you have to get in someone else's head, and that sounds insane.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love this movie so much. It's just so odd. I just really respect Joaquin performance, but like the ending of this movie, I was literally shaking my head like, what? I remember the end credits rolled on my TV, and I was just sitting there for like 5 minutes trying to process what I just watched, and I don't know how to explain it. It was just so... I don't know. I think everybody should check this movie out, even if you're not going to like it, because you probably won't. Oh, that's another thing. I watched the trailer for this movie, and I was like, because I knew who Lynn Ramsey was, I was like, yeah, that movie's not going to be anything like that trailer. It's going to be completely different, and it was. Like, literally everything in the trailer was shown in, like, the last 15 minutes of the actual movie. Because that's where all, like, this really entertaining stuff is.
Right.
And so, like, a lot of I'd say the first half of the movie was more character building. Also, there's this, I really want to talk about this. There is this amazing scene where Joaquin Phoenix is killing people after people in a hotel. And the cinematography, it's of the hotel security cameras.
Okay, yeah.
And it's cut in between, like in a rotation of how the cameras be flipped through. And so you don't see all the kills on screen, but it will cut to a shot where he's killing these people, and then 5 shots later, it's just that person dead.
Yeah, that builds suspense for sure.
And another thing, like, this is a really violent movie, but most of the violence isn't shown on screen.
That, to me, that seems like it'd be really hard to, like, convey. convey like this, like a serious amount of violence without like any bloodshed, essentially.
That's the thing. I'm telling you,
amazing.
This movie is odd. I don't know.
It sounds good though.
Yeah, it is. So I think that will do it for my number 2.
Number 2.
And now my favorite movie I watched.
Number 1.
Yeah, it's Widows.
Widows.
And this is directed by Steve McQueen. He directed 12 Years a Slave, which came out in 2013, I want to say. Yeah, it's 2013.
I've seen bits and pieces of that one.
And he has not made a movie since then. So it's been, what, 5 years?
Yeah.
2013 to 18? It's been a very long time since he's made a movie.
So this was anticipated. People said, whoa.
I know, I was
Let's
anticipating it. And I actually found out because they played a little snippet of an interview with Steve McQueen right before the movie started. And he was saying how this has been his passion project ever since he was a kid.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so the thing is that this movie is based off a 90s TV show, or like an 80s TV show. I can't remember which decade it was. But it's based on a TV show, and it's about how these 4 bank robbers get killed in a heist. And then the 4 widows of these bank robbers are pretty much threatened by politicians to go and perform another heist to get money back.
A little bit of corruption.
Yeah, a lot of corruption. And I think that's one of the things I love so much about this movie is that Steve McQueen, whenever you hear this plot, you're just expecting it to be a bank robbing movie. But he does not do that. It's more of a character study of these 4 characters, these 4 widows.
Interesting, yeah.
And that's what I loved so much about this. And there's not, I wouldn't say that there's one really lead actor in the movie. I'd say it's all just a bunch of supporting actors.
Interesting, yeah.
Very interesting. Although if there was a lead, I'd say it's Viola Davis. And Viola Davis is incredible in this movie. I really hope she gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She is very good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, could they be like nominated for Best Leading Actress?
I don't think. I say if there was a leading actress, it would be Viola Davis. But the problem is that I've looked at these Oscar nomination predictions, and they all have her as Best Supporting Actress.
Really? Okay.
And so I would say she's a leading actress, but apparently she's not.
Yeah.
And there's no lead actor. If there was one, it'd be Liam Neeson, who's only in the movie for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the thing. Like, this movie is one thing that I heard someone call the Harry Potter series are magical movies disguised as they're mystery movies disguised as magic movies. This is
interesting. I never heard that.
Yeah, this is a character study disguised as a bank robbing movie. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. And
this just shows like the pain that all these characters are going through, and I think it did that perfectly. And it really, Stephen McQueen does a great job at showing how corrupt politics are. He's not sitting here saying how the right is bad or the left is bad, which I wouldn't have an issue with either one as long as there's good filmmaking behind. But the fact that he's saying that all politics in general is very corrupt and how neither one of them is that good, I really respected that, because not a lot of filmmakers would be willing to say that because Hollywood is so far left.
Definitely.
So, and just everything about this movie I loved. The performances were great. He does make some political statements about police brutality. I felt like that was a very strong thing he did. That almost brought me to a tear.
Wow.
But ultimately just
impressive.
Yeah.
Jake Ditto almost cried.
Yeah. I just loved everything about this movie. I could go on and on about talking about how much this movie just moved me.
Yeah.
From being just how great it was made.
Like personally for me, like the studies of like pain and like corruption and like people's minds, like psychologically and like everything that goes around that is super interesting to me. So I would personally like this movie a lot. And the way you said it with the like Harry Potter analogy, that's pretty interesting. I never heard that analogy. And then when you compare it to this movie, like the case studies disguised in the bank robbery movie, you know, everyone expected it to be like a heist movie, like any other, but the way you said it, a case study.
There's another thing I want to talk about. This movie, like, I described it as a heist movie. But the heist itself, whenever they get to it, is the most realistic and the smallest heist. It's not over the top. Like, there's not 20 cars going to rob a giant bank. I'm not going to spoil what the heist is, but it's so small and it's so realistic that I respected this movie even more for building your average viewer up to expect this giant heist, and then they not get that, I felt like was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you see in all the heist movies is like this big grandiose thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes more sense. It's more realistic. It seems like a very like real, like you can really relate to it.
Yeah.
Almost. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This has been episode 1. We're going to be trying to do this weekly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. We have lots of movies, and we might expand and do other things. Maybe cover news, like just talk about what's going on. But we started out doing movies on here, and that's what we'd like to obviously continue doing, but we definitely expand out and do other things. Yeah. So,
Okay, I think that'll do it.
yeah, this has been Sam Converse
And Jake Ditto.
for Film Note. We'll see you guys next week.
Okay, see ya.